These 3 recipes were completely inspired by my 2 oldest boys. Hey guys, Kira here from 50 Shades of Mom, tips for all shades of mom life, and in today's video I am back to share with you 3 easy and super delicious recipes from Every Plate. Now if you guys are not new here, then you already know that I love this company and I have been ranting and raving about them for about 9 months now. I tried them for the first time from my girlfriend Vanessa over at Lemonade Mom. I used her link, and from the moment that I ordered from them, I have been ordering from them about every 2 weeks, and I use it for lunches or meals for the kids. I just love them. Like I said, they are extremely cheap. They are the cheapest home delivery service for food out there, and their recipes are just easy. There's not a lot of ingredients and they're super delicious. So every time I get a box, every 2 weeks, I film them to share it with you guys, and I always have my link down in the description box if you guys want to check them out, and you get your first box for just $10 for using my link. But you guys, it is not about you guys signing up with my link. It is about, like I said, how easy and delicious these recipes are, and by me filming them and then sharing them with you guys can go ahead and recreate them at home. This way, if you don't have a need for a food delivery service or it's not in your budget, you can still go ahead and get the advantages of all of these recipes. So I'm going to show you guys today a sausage gnocchi bake, a Philly cheesesteak sloppy joe, which was to die for, with some french fries, and then a gravy lovers meatball with a roasted garlic mashed potatoes. So good. I can't wait to show you them. Let's get started. So for our first recipe, I had Jacob in mind, and I always seem to have him in mind when there's a gnocchi plate offered, because Jake's favorite pasta is gnocchi. So this time we're going to make an Italian pork sausage gnocchi bake. So we're going to need a half a pound of gnocchi, some cream cheese, some Italian seasoning. You're going to need some garlic, some tomato paste, a Roma tomato. They give you 1 full onion, but we're only going to use half. Some sweet Italian pork sausage links, there's 6 ounces there, and then some shredded mozzarella. Now if you go onto the website, they'll give you the exact measurements of how much is in each one of those things, like how much cheese is inside of that package if you want to recreate it on your own. But that's all you need, you guys, to make this delicious gnocchi bake. So I was really excited to make this for Jake, and we're gonna get 2 pans onto the stove. So on the back I have some slightly boiling water, so I'm salting it really good. That's the key to a good flavorful pasta, is lots of salt in your water. And then we're going to go ahead and add some olive oil to a pan. Now that pan was sitting on the stove for like a good 5 minutes before I added even the olive oil. I like a really good hot pan before I throw my oil in. So once it was sizzling, I went ahead and added the onions that I diced up, and we're going to go ahead and give those a good toss, and we're going to let those cook down a little bit. You want them to start to get translucent, and you want the whole air to smell like that really good cooked onion flavor. Now you guys missed it, I didn't get a chance to show you, but I already dropped the gnocchi in the water. I salt and peppered our onions, and then 5 to 7 minutes and our gnocchi was done. So I drained the pasta and left it in the sink for a while. It's going to sit there until we're ready to use it, because we still have to go ahead and finish making our sauce. So now that our onions are where we need them to be, we're going to go ahead and add the garlic that I chopped up, and then we're going to add the pork sausage links. Those come in a very thin casing, so I just went ahead and slit down with a knife and squeezed all of the insides of that sausage out until the whole casing came out. It's very easy to remove the skin. And then I added that packet of Italian seasoning that they supplied, and then I just diced up the meat really good so that it can cook down. Once you get to the point where there's no more pink really, you're going to go ahead and add that diced up Roma tomato tomato, and the entire packet of tomato paste. And now you're just going to go ahead and start working that through. Now, once that all gets worked through, we're going to add a little bit of water and kind of dilute it a little bit and make a good sauce. But what I really like about this is I'm Italian, you guys. So when I make a sauce on a Sunday, it sits all day in order to get that great flavor. I loved the flavor that this sauce had, and it was something I was able to do in a super short amount of time. So once we added the water and mixed that around, we added the cream cheese and a tablespoon of butter. Holy cow, what adding a little bit of cream cheese and butter does to your sauce. I don't do that when I make my pasta sauce, but it adds such a richness and it gives a really good flavor, again, to a sauce that hasn't been cooking on the stove all day. Now it's ready for our gnocchi. That's it. Like, that was so simple to just kind of pull that sauce together. We go ahead and work our gnocchi in, and now we're going to top it with that shredded mozzarella because this is called a bake. So I have the oven set for 350 degrees. We're going to take it from this step right into the stove. So we're going to put the pan right in there, just 4 to 5 minutes. We just want that cheese to ooze and get melty, almost like pizza does, with that slightly brown topping. Like, look how yummy that looks, you guys. It took me a couple of seconds to be able to show you this part, so I feel like it started to get a little cool, the cheese on top. It doesn't look quite like the picture, but does it ever really? But needless to say, this was so spot on. Jake absolutely loved it. The sausage flavor was really, really good. I've mentioned a bunch of times that I think their meat quality is outstanding, and I just thought this was super delicious, and it went pretty far for gnocchi. The gnocchi I usually get from Trader Joe's definitely doesn't stretch as far. So now we're on to gravy lover meatballs, and I got this one with my husband in mind because he absolutely loves meatballs, and so does Mason. And this was served with garlic mashed potatoes and green beans. Like, I just felt like this was everything the boys would love. So we needed some green beans, again some onion, but we're only going to use half, some ground beef 85/15, 5 small golden potatoes, some sour cream, some beef concentrate, and then 1 white slice of bread. I'm really excited to share with you guys this slice of bread trick, and I'll tell you guys why in just a second, but this was huge knowledge for me. So now we're going to go ahead and get everything prepped so we're ready pretty much to go. Sometimes I get a chance to show you guys this step when I don't have kids clawing at me, and sometimes I don't. But we diced up our onion, we diced up our garlic, and we have some cloves of garlic in some oil right there that we're going to roast. And then I cubed up the potatoes because we need to get those boiling for mashed potatoes, and I opened up our green beans and threw some water inside of that bag and kind of washed it up. So now let's talk about this bread trick. So you're going to throw that slice of bread into the bowl, and you're going to add a couple of tablespoons of water. It wants you to get in with your fingers, but I didn't want to do that. I hate doing that. I have to take off my rings. I forget to put them back on, and it's so annoying. So I like this step because this is your binding agent for where you would normally add breadcrumbs. And for anybody on keto or something, there are low carb breads out there. So there are definitely options for you to use here. I don't particularly like pork rinds. So sometimes I do, I will, and I won't, but that's really a good binding agent for keto. But if you can get some low carb bread up in there and do exactly what you did, and it does such a wonder for that meatball. So good. So then I went ahead and added the ground beef into the bowl, and then some of our diced onion, not all of it, because we're going to use some of it to make our sauce, and a little salt and pepper, you guys. That was it. And then you are going to take a small, I guess it's like a 1-inch ball, pretty much the way you would roll cookie dough, and roll it between the palm of your hands and get as many even-sized meatballs as you can. Sometimes you can use like a cookie scoop if you have a cookie scoop, or half of an ice cream scoop, just to kind of get them as even as possible. And then I threw the green beans on there, and I tried to separate them as much as possible so that they weren't lying on top of each other. And then I threw that little garlic satchel of oil on there. And as fast as it went in the oven, you guys, it came right back out because I realized I didn't salt, pepper, or olive oil our green beans. I was so excited about that little satchel of garlic and oil that I wanted to roast that I totally forgot to prep our green beans. So I got them set and then put that back in the oven. And then now I threw my potatoes in to get them ready. Do you guys add your potatoes after the water boils to make mashed potatoes or before? I like them to get the starch out of it as it's starting to heat up, but that's just my own personal personal preference. So I got our frying pan good and hot and did the same thing we just did in the previous recipe by sweating down our onions. And then they want you to put in 1 tablespoon of flour and mix it in with that onion. It was kind of weird. I've never done that before. It made the onion very dry, and then you added in 1 cup of water and then this beef concentrate just to start getting you like a base for a sauce. Pretty interesting to do it that way. I am very particular about not liking clumps in my gravy. I do feel like there was a tiny bit of clump towards the end. I whisked it and stuff and it came out a little bit better. Some of the clumps were onions, but I'm a little weird about how I like to do my flour, but that's how they suggested it. But our meatballs were ready. Look how good they came out, you guys. And like I said, that binding agent with that bread, what a game changer for all of our low carb peeps out there on something else to use other than a pork rinds. And I love how our green beans came out, but I'm most excited about what's in that tin foil. I love roasting garlic. It takes the simplest of dishes and just elevates it. We got our gravy done and our potatoes are almost ready. So I went ahead and took the garlic out and just smashed it good with a fork. I actually already did 1 clove and threw it in. Forgot to turn the camera on, so I just did the 2nd clove and then threw it into the pot. I started mashing our potatoes a little bit, but one thing I definitely didn't do was let the potatoes cook enough. They weren't as tender as they needed to be. And shh, do not tell, but I also added a little bit of that olive oil that garlic was cooking in. I did not want to waste that good of flavor. I added in the sour cream, the butter, and then they said we can add in some of the water that the potatoes cooked in, but I don't like starchy water like that. Or they suggested milk. Well, why not heavy cream? I mean, this is Texas, right? So it's either go big or send your butt home. So I did the heavy cream, the butter, and the sour cream and mixed it in with that little bit of that garlic oil and that roasted garlic. And you guys, those potatoes were absolutely banging. The green beans came out perfect. The meatballs were absolutely perfect. I did a little bit different. They did their meatballs on top of their potatoes. I kind of separated it a little bit more so you guys can see it better. But holy cow, that was spot on. But this was the best recipe out of the whole box, and I kind of knew that it would be. I had this in mind for the husband too. He really loves himself a Philly cheesesteak, but he loves sloppy joes also, and no one but me and my family will eat it, so he never gets himself a really good sloppy joe. So Philly cheesesteak style and a sloppy joe, this was all up his alley. And we were serving it with potato wedges. So we have 5 of those potatoes, some soy sauce, some Dijon mustard, some shredded mozzarella, some ground beef, some green pepper, and they always give the best buns. Those buns are absolutely amazing. They grill up so good. They always want you to toast them, and they really toast up amazing. They're perfect for a sandwich. So I went ahead and showed you guys just a tiny little bit of the prep that we needed. I wanted to show you how I did those potato wedges just so you would get a better concept of it. So I cut the potato in half, and then I cut it down the center, and then I cut it down the center of that, and then I cut it down the center of that again. So essentially giving you 4 wedges per half, or 8 wedges to a whole potato. So I feel like I got 40 potatoes out of the 5 they gave you, which I thought was amazing. And then I showed you guys a little bit how I diced up the pepper. I just cut it in half and de-seeded it, and then I just made thin little strips and came back and made cubes. That's all we really needed. Darryl loves the flavor of the green pepper, but he doesn't actually love the pepper. So I wanted to keep them big enough where he could pick them out if he wanted to. I went ahead and threw our potato wedges on a baking sheet. We're going to throw a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper on them, and then that's it, you guys. 450 degrees in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, and it's totally amazing how good those potato wedges come out. Now we're going to make our sauce, which you guys will see later ends up being a debacle. So we put our soy sauce into a little ramekin. Then we added the Dijon mustard. We needed 2 tablespoons of ketchup. That's something we had to supply on our own. And then it wanted you to add 1 cup of water, which I thought was kind of weird. But you give it a little bit of a stir, and the water and the soy sauce and then the mustard and the ketchup, they're all such different consistencies. I don't feel like this got overwhelmingly creamy. I was very curious how this was going to work out. So I pushed it aside and kind of forgot about it. So now I heated up our pan and threw some olive oil in it, and it wanted you to throw your peppers in and salt and pepper them. give them a good toss, and wait like 5 to 7 minutes for them to get a good char on them. And then it wanted you to pull them out of the frying pan and leave them aside, and then use the same pan to go ahead and cook your meat. But I actually decided to change it up just a little bit, and I left the peppers on the other side of the frying pan. Like I said, my husband really loves the flavor of the peppers, but he doesn't really like them inside of it. So I wanted those juices to keep flowing in the pan while I managed to cook the ground beef on the other side. And you could see that I salt and peppered. Now I add the garlic to it, and I still was able to cook it by keeping the peppers over there and then the ground beef over here. So now we add in a tablespoon of butter and then a tablespoon of flour, and you're going to mix that all together. And then I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I stirred my peppers. They were still hanging on tight and they weren't wilting. And I thought that we were in good shape. And I went and topped it with the cheese. And then I freaked out because I'm like, this doesn't really look the same. I took my buns out and I was ready to plate it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I was supposed to add the sauce first, then put the cheese on. I thought I completely ruined it. There was no way to take the cheese off. And so I just mixed it all in with the cheese. And let me tell you how that ended up being a dynamite concept. It made that cheese go through every piece of meat with that sauce. And I still was able to keep those peppers on the side. So I made Jake's with the peppers, and Darryl's didn't have any peppers on it, just so he still had the flavor. But holy cow, it wasn't exactly like they wanted it to be done, but it still came out so good. Those potato wedges, I can't talk about the potato wedges. You guys know how I feel about potatoes. They are a vegetable, and they are the best vegetable as far as I'm concerned. And these were just so amazing, properly salted. The bun, you guys, like I said, toasted, spot on. And then that Philly cheesesteak sloppy joe. What a way to make a sloppy joe. Thank you, every plate. All right, you guys, so that's it for another every plate video. I have to say, you guys, I truly enjoy sharing these with you guys every single time because the recipes just keep getting better and better, and they're so recreatable at home that I know you guys can make these too. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. My link is always down below. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.